back to our channel Lightling Vision. Mother will continue with part 3 on karma and reincarnation. So it is really interesting, so you should watch the first 2 videos. And today, Mother, welcome. And today you will continue and you will give us more examples so we can understand, because for us it is quite something to understand, and we actually really need it. So thank you for sharing all your light and wisdom with us.
No thanks, as usual. Well, in the first 2 videos I've talked about karma. In this video I have to introduce the idea of reincarnation, because karma, if you think about it clearly, cannot exist without reincarnation. Because if you talk about karma, you talk about something that you have done in a previous life, and that is seeking to be worked out, to be balanced in this life. So there's automatically a previous life and today. I talked in my last video about a situation in which children already face karmic consequences in the family structure that they are born in. And I said, well, if only adults can have another vision on life and introduce this vision in in the way they look at their family and what's happening in the family, you will see that it helps a lot just knowing this, because it happens so often that children are born in families where they have a karmic link or a karmic debt with at least one of the parents. It can also be with one of the other children, but that is, yes, not always, but let's say it's often more easy to deal with, although it's not always. But the most obvious example is one of the children and one of the parents. So you see that a son has a very close link to his mother, perhaps too close for the father, and a daughter has either a very close link to the father, or she has tremendous fights with the mother, or the son with the father. Many combinations are possible in a positive and in a negative way, but it is the negative way that will have the more impact on us, and where we put the question mark behind. So if you know that there is very probably a karmic situation behind it, then you will see that the persons that are in the conflict will start having another behavior. You don't have to say anything, it's just the way you look at it. If you can say, well, my husband and my son, I see they always have the same kind of fight. My husband is constantly behind my son that he should do his homework, that he should become somebody intellectually interesting, that he should do his studies, that he should go to university, he should become somebody important. And my son is constantly refusing that, saying no, trying to escape. He doesn't do his homework, he gets lazy at school, as is a kind of counterbalance. He's doing the other way around than his father wants it. And you look at that as a mother and you ask yourself what's happening. Of course, you can say from a normal psychological point of view, yes, well, the father has ambitions and the son doesn't have it. But that will not solve the problem. Then you have to keep them apart as much as possible, or try to reason the father and tell him that he should leave more freedom to his son, and you still try to boost the son that he's doing a bit better his homework for school. You struggle for years, and it might even be that now it depends on the depth of the situation, but well, in half of the situations somehow they will grow out of it, and when the son is 18 he quits home and he tries to stay away far from his father, and that's the way he solves it. But if you are more if you have a deeper understanding of things, you can from a young age already say to yourself as a mother, because in the situation of the son and the father, and you are the mother, you are the one who's watching it, and you can say, what is really happening behind the appearances? Might it be that this is something that has to do with the subject of intellectual understanding, or of intellectuality, or of the worth of having a diploma, or what is it about? And then you will see, if you have that kind of vision, that it will come up naturally in those two persons. That you will see that in the conflict, the real subject that it is about will come up. And then you might suddenly see that the father becomes aware, becomes conscious, only because you see through the eyes of you as a mother, that only the idea that you can say to yourself as a mother, it might be karma. Two parties of the conflict will become conscious little by little. And in general, the adult in the first place. So in this situation, the father becomes conscious that, in fact, perhaps he is asking things from his son that are not just. Because he starts suddenly seeing that his son perhaps is not an intellectual. And it's better for the son to do something else with his life. And that gives air to the situation. Then the son suddenly, he wants to do better, he has compassion for his father, and he tries to do his best at school. Not more than he can do, but he will not be a lazy son that's trying to say no to his father. He tries to do his best. You will see that if you have that outlook on the situation as a mother, suddenly the son will try to do his best in a reasonable way at school, instead of rejecting everything. And the father will try to understand the son and say, gee, perhaps my son is doing his best, but it's not an intellectual. And that is something that is magic and that is wonderful. And no psychological, I cannot say no, but very few psychological treatments can reach that stage easily. It's most that they try to convince the father of not being so rough, and they agree somehow that the son should work at school, but nobody gets a deeper understanding of the conflict. And even if this goes further, it might be that the son later in his life discovers that in fact he has the same tendency as his father, and even worse. And that's why it was a karma. That's to say that the son that did not want to work at school, in fact, is somebody who bullies his own children even worse than his father did with him. Because he has a character fault that he wants everybody to do what he says. He's dominating. Or he thinks that he can be lazy as a father, once he has become the father. Once the son has become the father himself, it might be that he is the one who's lazy, who doesn't do a thing, and who thinks that his children should do far better than he does, and he is constantly bullying his own children. That might have been the reason why this person as a child had a father like that. Because the son had the same tendency as his father, even worse. And in living it that way, he is life tries to say to the son, don't do that later to your own children, because you lived it, and how you felt that it was horrendous to live that. But it does not always work like that. It might also be that the son, in spite of everything, starts doing that with his own children later on, and even worse. And that's why I want to support the vision of the introduction of karma and reincarnation in the vision of modern man. Because if one of the parents can have this vision, even without speaking it out, then things can really change. Then the son will become aware that this is not the way to behave, and the father also. So the son will not later on start bullying his own children, because he already changed when he was young. And that's a real gain of time. Mm. And that will really change something in life. Otherwise, the child who has undergone certain kind of treatment that he felt like a bad treatment, will do the same things to his own children. The problem in life is so often that what we have undergone as children we will do later on, and even worse, to our own children or environment. It is something that we do not speak about enough, I think, because it has to do with the shadow side in man, and we don't like that subject. But you have to know that what you undergo at a certain moment in your life, whether you're a child or an adult, you will, in many cases, do yourself sooner or later, as soon as you have the possibility, to others, and even worse. But you will not even see it. And now to change this kind of circle that with no end, karma and reincarnation are very important. If only one person who's assisting at this kind of situation can have this thought and say, yes, but this is not just a mundane problem about holding a pencil or having a diploma. This has to do with two persons who might have the same fault inside of themselves. And at this moment, one is weak and the other one is strong, in a strong position, but one day it can be the other way around. Because they're both dealing with the same difficulty.
So that's from previous life.
So what I would like to say is karma and reincarnation confront us with the truth that where two or more persons are in the same conflict, they very often deal with exactly the same problem. And it's only the positions they take in the situation that change something when you look at the appearances. But that's only the outer point of view. Inside, they all have to deal with the same difficulty, with the same weakness of character, with the same problem. And that's why they're together, and that's why they're fighting. And if you can only have another vision on the situation and introduce karma and reincarnation, all the parts of this struggle, all the persons involved, will end up having another view on themselves, on the situations, and then something will change.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So what about if the same child with the father, so what if like when he's older and he doesn't act like his dad, but he because sometimes the parent will overcompensate from what he had when he was young. So for example, if he had like a very strict and parent that was bullier, if the parent when he's a parent himself,
the child when he's parenting himself,
like he will try to give to his children what he didn't receive. So there's a chance that he may do harm there too. So if he tries to give too much love, too much support, too much, so is this good?
We cannot put a judgment on it. We can only say it's not a solution. Because the father was too much dominating, the son doesn't want to dominate at all, so becomes too weak with his children. And then you will see that the children of this son will again become too strict, because it goes from one extreme to another. The vicious circle will never be interrupted in this way. So too much severity will call for too much weakness, will call for too much severe attitude, etc.
So
from one generation to the other, and it will never stop. Or it will take a long time before it stops. Unless one of the persons that's not involved, but that assists, says, this seems to me a karmic situation, because why do I talk about the karmic situation? Because it's something that comes back all the time. It's not a fight for just in teenage in the teenage period for 1 or 2 years. It's a fight it started when he was 4 years old, and now he's 18 and it's still there. Well, that's a karmic situation very often. unless it's just a character fault, but even that comes from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of situations are much helped with the vision on karma and reincarnation, with the only thought, or the mere thought, it might be that, and a change of consciousness in the two parties, or the parties that are involved in the conflict. That will interrupt the vicious circle.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas otherwise it will go on from one extreme to another.
Thank you. So, well, we were missing a lot, so I hope that we can really understand this concept and apply it in our lives, because
I will try to deepen it out in still other videos, because it's a very important subject that comes up in many situations in our lives. And difficulties are part of our lives, and trying to solve them in a different way that will really solve them, that's what we need, I think.
Once and for all.
In a constructive way,
mm-hmm.
in a positive and constructive way,
yeah.
Not just getting rid of it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mother. So don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you at the next video. Bye.
Millions of years have gone by since you put your first steps on the earth. Millions of years have gone by since you first came here to birth. Millions of times you've watched it, things and people passed away. Millions of times you've watched it, nothing ever stayed. How come you still can't give up this illusion? How come you still prefer to dream, dreaming on? When will you wake up to a true light? Dreaming on. Your eyes are closed, you do not notice. Dreaming on. And what will make you see? Dream on. A new reality. So many times you've played them, roles in dramas human-made. So many times you've changed them, costumes, scenes and names. Each time again you try to make the most out of the subject. Each time again you try to seize the winning game. How come you still can't give up this illusion? How come you still prefer to dream, dreaming on? When will you wake up to a true light? Dreaming on. Your eyes are closed, you do not notice. Dreaming on. And what will make you see? Dream on. A new reality. Dreaming on. When will you wake up to a true light? Dreaming on. Your eyes are closed, you do not notice. Dreaming on. And what will make you see?